So one of the best things anyone ever said to me was back yourself. I think I'm naturally quite entrepreneurial. I just think I am. And I think I've tried to resist it for so long now, but I am. When I was younger, I did a bit of taekwondo, loved the community, the camaraderie and the exercise. You get to that age, you might be alive for another 30 years. Do you want to have those 30 years feeling good about yourself, feeling like you've got a level of fitness that you can help yourself through? I wanted to be around people kind of my own age, where you kind of laugh at each other's kind of ailments and where you're at, and you kind of encourage each other through that fraternity and that community. Stoicism for me is just a quiet determination, a quiet confidence, and a inner knowingness that it's going to be okay. I've always had access to something else that I know is now my own inner voice, which is the stoic, don't worry. True power comes in being brave enough to have that conversation with yourself about who am I really?
Nuclear Transport Solutions is a global leader in nuclear transport and logistics, delivering safe, secure and reliable solutions across rail, road and sea. Its heritage goes back 50 years and they have safely travelled millions of miles around the globe. The organisation is also a world expert in design and licensing of nuclear transport packages, guided by values of safety, integrity and sustainability. NTS is committed to environmental protection, innovation and community engagement, shaping a cleaner, safer future for all. NTS is proud to be partnering with the Tackling It Together podcast to support open, honest conversations around mental health. They believe that well-being should be at the heart of every workplace. Together we're working to break down the stigma and build a culture where mental health is supported, respected and understood. Hello and welcome back to Little Blackbird's Tackling It Together podcast, and today we are with Jonathon Brown, aka JB.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm right, Ed, yeah. Thank you. How are you?
Really good, really good.
Good.
And it's great to have you here.
Thank you.
So, bit of a disclosure, we don't know each other massively well.
Nope.
We met, well, how did we meet? Oh, it was through another colleague, kind of thought that we had a bit of synergy in terms of what we do.
Yeah.
And we've had a call a couple of weeks ago, and within 30 seconds of that call, I knew in my head you'd be great to have a conversation on the podcast based on your journey and the risks that you've took and what you're trying to create. Because you have set up a company and a CIC known as MAVs, otherwise known as Aged Vandals.
That's it. That's us.
Which is intriguing. And we're going to get into what that's all about and what your mission is. And it's really interesting to understand you took a punt. You made a bit of a shift, and you might call that a punt or a gamble, and you changed your career trajectory, which is easier said than done. A lot of people want to do it, but a lot of people don't have the bravery to do it. So I want to get underneath that in the conversation.
Okay, sounds good. Looking forward to it.
First little thing before we go in, random question just to warm you up. Because there is a theme of boxing in your business. So if there was a boxing match between a grey squirrel and a...
Oh no, I hate these.
What have we got? A grey squirrel and a seagull. And I mean a Blackpool... resilient seagull.
Yeah.
But a very big grey squirrel. Who's winning?
How big's the squirrel?
Oh, it's big.
Yeah.
It's top dog.
Is there an ice cream cone involved? Or like a
there's a
plate
chip.
Of fish
There's
and chips?
2 or 3 Harry Ramsden chips.
I'm going to go seagull every time.
Why? Why the seagull?
They just. I mean, they're so strong. First of all.
Yeah.
Unpredictable, pecky,
Yeah.
big long thing. And they're nimble. They can go on the ground, all the air, and they love those chips. Well, they love everything, don't they?
I know, but then again, the grey squirrel might not be seasoned to the chip.
That's true.
That opportunity could be.
Yeah, we can get to chip seasoning now as well.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I think I'm gonna edge the seagull.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Good.
Yeah,
I
do like a
covered
grey
that.
squirrel though. I live in Frodsham. There's loads of them, but.
All right.
Yeah.
Grey squirrel as opposed to a red squirrel.
Well, obviously would prefer a red squirrel, but yeah.
I mean, the seagull would be mincemeat with the red squirrel, wouldn't it? It hasn't got that resilience.
Yeah.
Jonathan, firstly, thanks for coming in, because I know time is
thank
precious and you've got loads going on in terms of your life and business, and you're at the start of your kind of journey, probably similar to us, really. But tell us a little bit about you. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, well, listen, first of all, thanks very much indeed for inviting me, and it's good to be here. So 57 years of age. I was born on the Wirral and moved around a lot, I think it's fair to say. Formative years in Chester, then Lancashire, or Isle of Man, should I say. Then back here, then I moved down south in 1990 and lived down there for 30 years. And moved back in 2019. My dad lives in Ellesmere Port, and I just wanted to be closer to him, to be honest with you. Thought it was only temporary, then COVID happened, which shifted plans like it did for everybody, and decided to sort of relocate permanently. I've got 3 siblings. I don't have any kids of my own. And work-wise, I've always been in IT sales. But yeah, there's a lot of experiences along the way, both familial and work-wise, that have shaped me. Just in terms of where I'm at now, so I spent the last year, my dad unfortunately was very, very ill. So sort of caring for him, I guess, and he came to live with me for 9 months. Thankfully, he's had a successful operation and is doing great. But the last year has been an incredibly challenging, but also fantastic in lots of other ways as well. Weirdly, and I suppose where I'm at now is I decided 7 or 8 months ago to. I've had my own business for several years, but it's been dormant. I used to use it as a contracting consulting business when I lived down south. And in the last few months decided to kind of really focus on that, but at the same time starting maths. When I moved back, I thought, like, when you're younger, you meet people by going to the pub, and back in our day, it's friends of friends and everything else. So it's a bit different nowadays. And what I didn't want to do was meet people through just going out and boozing, and it can be fun and all that sort of thing. But I was 51 when I moved back. I just thought, no, I want to just see what's on the other side of the same way that I've always been. And I thought, right, okay, how can I do that? When I was younger, I did a bit of taekwondo in my late teens, early 20s. Loved it. Loved the community, the camaraderie, and the exercise. But also just loved the physicality of martial arts and being able to punch stuff, and and it was great. Wasn't particularly competitive. Did some competitions. Had some fights. Well, some bouts, as it were, in those days. And then that was when I just moved down south. Then kind of my attention was taken elsewhere. Met a new group of friends, had a fantastic lifestyle, party, all that sort of stuff, and my career took off as well. And that sort of took the back seat. And I always kept my nose in a little bit with the gym. Tried to counterbalance what became quite a, let's call a party lifestyle.
Yeah. Were you a raver?
Yeah. I think it's fair to say. Yeah.
Do you miss those days?
No, I don't actually. You have this euphoric recall, don't you, sometimes, where you're like, oh, I wish I could, but then you think, could I do that now with this body, this mind? No, I don't think so. I'm glad I did it, though. Let's put it that way. I worked for the same company on and off for sort of 10 years. Decided to have a career break in mid-2000s. Retrained as an English teacher. Went and did some travelling and teaching as I travelled as well. And then kind of really missed the cut and thrust of my IT sales career. Came back to the UK, went back into that, did okay, and then and throughout that whole time was chucking in a bit of gym here and there, but didn't ever do it for me. I was never like, oh wow, I love the gym, I'm going to go, every day, every other day. It was always just, oh, I've got to do it. I'm just going to make myself do it, and then eventually I'd just fall off it again. Then in the last 10 years, started doing Muay Thai a bit just before I moved back up. Personal training. Went to Thailand a couple of times, did a couple of camps there. enjoyed that a lot. Then had some knee operations, had some bits and pieces. Things as you get older, things do start seizing up a little bit, taking longer to recover, and the will is still there, but perhaps the physicality isn't. And then moved back up here, like I say. Then quite quickly after COVID, had a couple of health challenges. Had a tumour in my salivary gland,
right,
which had to be removed. Thankfully non-cancerous, it was precancerous. But that operation was quite a big one, and took quite a long time to get over. And then the following year had skin cancer,
right,
in my forearm, which thankfully again was easily removed. And then last year, my dad really kind of out of nowhere became very, very seriously ill with bowel cancer. And like I say, he came to live with me and that sort of thing. When I'd had that, I sort of, which is the tumour in my jaw, I at the same time was really unhappy in the company that I was working at. I was just not in a good place. I was still making myself walk around Frodsham Hill. Frodsham Hill's been my saviour. Going to the gym here and there. But I just didn't feel like I was in the right place. I just didn't feel quite right. I felt like I was in the right place geographically, but I didn't feel like in the right place in my mind. And then I heard through a friend of a friend about Chester boxers, and met Paul Economides, who's a brilliant guy, ex WBF super bantamweight international title holder, and a couple of British Masters titles, European fights won, and based out of Chester boxers. And he and I started going to him for personal training.
Right.
About 2 years ago, year and a half, 2 years ago. Instantly clicked, got really well with him. Great guy. He's also been a PT for 20 years now. His clients stay with him, and it's easy to tell why. He loves what he does. He's just a good guy, right? And so then he and I, over time getting to know each other, said, look, I said, when I came up here, I couldn't find the thing that I wanted. And the thing that I wanted was this, but with other guys as well, of my own sort of age, peer group, within 10 years either side sort of thing. And the reason for that being that, when you're a young guy, if you're in a boxing class or a Muay Thai class or whatever, there are always exceptions, by the way, with super fit guys in their 50 that can actually, smash it and all that. But for me, I wanted to be around people kind of my own age, where you kind of laugh at each other's kind of ailments and where you're at, and you kind of encourage each other through that kind of fraternity and that community, and you can celebrate marginal gains together, right? And just be there. And what I realised for me is that
those gains could be very marginal.
Yeah. I love Dave Brailsford. That's definitely marginal for
1%.
me. The 1%, yeah. So for me, it was like, well, I know I feel better every time I've been to the class, right? Every time I go in the car on the way there to PT, even though I really want to go, there's always that thing going, oh, why are you too tired? Why are you why don't bother? But it's a lot easier to say, shut up, when it's something that you actually know that you enjoy, I find. Yeah. And who doesn't love punching pads, right? Punching pads, getting it all out there, learning footwork, learning combinations. And there's something for me as a guy that works for me. And it's not for everybody, maybe, but I just think for me. Now, I definitely didn't grow up being a fighter, a bruiser, a confident lad at all. I was always, through no fault of my dad or anything, I was just always brought up in that era of stiff upper lip, sensitivity is weakness.
That stoic masculinity kind of.
Yeah, you've got to be a man, sensitivities for women, all that sort of stuff, right? You said stoic. Actually, I think stoicism can be a good thing, but I think for me, I always felt that I was not quite as much of a guy as some of the other guys, right? And what I think for me martial arts has done is made me realise actually I am just as much of a guy as anybody else, but it doesn't mean I have to kind of be the toughest guy in the room and be an arsehole with it. Do you know what I mean?
On that, tell me,
yeah.
what does Stoicism mean to you?
Stoicism?
Yeah. Because that's a really interesting point, the good side of it.
So one of the best things anyone ever said to me was back yourself, you know?
Yeah.
And it was when I was in a bit of a down period, leaving a job, just looked at me and said, back yourself. And it's just stuck with me. And I think Stoicism's linked to that, which is like, you know, if you can engender a quiet confidence in yourself, whichever way you can, really, whatever can give you access to that. In my case, it was perhaps a bit of counselling and just getting to know yourself over time. And for me, Stoicism is like a quiet confidence. Is you don't always need to know what you want either, by the way. It's just having the confidence that you'll find it.
Yeah.
But then once you're going for something, Stoicism to me is that sort of quiet determination and not allowing setbacks to set you back permanently. You know, it's all right to be set back temporarily. It's all right to take a hit and go, oh, the hell, you know, it's like getting tackled, getting winded. It's like, oh, if that's split second, you go, I want to just get out of this now. But then you kind of go, breathe through it and everything. You go, all right, I'm ready again. Stoicism for me is just a quiet determination, a quiet confidence, and a inner knowingness that it's going to be okay, and just sticking with it.
Yeah.
Now, the flip side of that is if you know, and I think we all know, when something is not good for you, not healthy for you, or if you're doing it because you think you should be doing it, you're doing it because you're worried about how it might look to everybody else if you stop doing it. That's not Stoicism. That's fear. So I think there's a difference between being stoic on something and being fearful and letting something derail you, because you're learning, you know, you're pursuing it when perhaps you shouldn't do.
Yeah.
So Stoicism to me, and I've learned Stoicism from my dad a lot, is a quiet, a quiet dignity, and an inner belief that you're going to get through this. And
you've seen that.
Yeah.
You've seen that in your dad recently.
Yeah.
Come through the mire. Come through all that.
Oh, yeah.
But we didn't say this on the call. I saw my dad died 8 years ago. It'll have been December just gone. My dad had a stroke. His first one of 47. So he was young. He was.
Wow. Yeah.
My mum and dad split up when I was quite young, so he was a bachelor. You know, he lived there every night, 40 a day, fags. Yeah. But he had his first one of 47, and he wanted 60, and the final one got him at 63 when he died. But I would say, I don't know whether this is relevant for you, but based on you emotionally connecting with that, the pride that I had for my dad probably from 47 onwards, how he had to totally change. He had to learn to walk again. He had to learn to communicate again. Wow. He stopped smoking. Not through us, but just becoming a grandfather. He went cold turkey. And whenever I think back to him, I think about that. It's interesting about that stoicism reference you made there, that quiet. He did have a quiet internal voice, and he had to really shift that voice, but he really struggled to externalise it. He really struggled to say, I love you. He really struggled to talk about. I asked him, why have you stopped smoking? No, dude, I've just done it. I couldn't externalise it, but I really agree with what you're saying about that quiet internal voice, and the internal voice is the loudest voice. And if we can start to shape those thought patterns, if we can turn them a little bit, as in, can I find a way through this? Or do I need to speak out? Or do I need to, is it not working? Do I need to do something a little bit different? I think it's really interesting you're saying around that fine line, because when we don't accept that voice isn't where it needs to be, that's when we can very fight or flight fear can take us down that path. It's a very fine line between I'm drifting down that path, so I'll mask it with aggression, I'll mask it with alcohol, I'll mask it with pornography, whatever that might be. There is so many masks and opportunities for men, I believe, to just block it out and just drift down that path, and then we know when you're too far down that path, it's hard to come back from it.
Absolutely. And I think particularly nowadays as well, where, through social media and connectivity and everything else, it's very easy to just hide and lose yourself into reasons to not do something, or reasons to avoid looking at yourself, really, and becoming who you should be, who you want to be, it takes a lot of guts, I think, to say, actually, I don't want what you want. I want what I want.
I think that's really interesting as well, and thanks for sharing that. This is where I thought this conversation was going to go. But I resonate with what you just said there, being brave enough to understand who you want to be, or the version of you that you want to be in the future, whatever that might be, work, family, friendship. What age do you think you had a good handle on the version that you wanted to be? When did you have that realisation? Have you had that light bulb?
Oh, yeah. I think I've known for a long time. I mean, I can honestly say that aged 17, 18, 19, I thought to myself, I want to be in business myself. And I actually looked, this is the days of faxes. And my first sales job, I was the worst ever phone system and fax salesperson ever. And I worked out of Preston. And my territory was like Todmorden, Haslingden, Rothendale still. And I had a 1.1 litre diesel engine Escort estate that used to have to go up these hills. I used to have to go up in that slow lorry lane. And I used to sell faxes. And in those days, you sold a sharp fax. You had to buy sharp fax paper. So I had this idea. I found a mill in North Wales that made the fax paper for these other companies. And I thought, so I went and had a chat with them. They were like, yeah, we'll sell it to you. I was like, I can sell this. I can go into all the places and undercut the fax paper distributors, But I didn't do it. I just didn't have... I knew in my heart it was a brilliant idea, and I knew it would work. But at that time, I'd been living on my own since I was 16. Broken home, all that sort of stuff. I was homeless for a few months, lived in the church, hostel and all that sort of stuff. But then, very quickly kind of found my feet and everything else. So,
when you were young?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So then at 18, I was living on my own. In fact, I'd just bought a little it wasn't even a one bedroom, it was a studio flat in Preston. It was 11 grand.
Wow.
And bed used to come out the wall like James Bond. It wasn't like James Bond. It was like that. And you had to watch it and hit on the head. And in those days I was just like up for a laugh. All my mates would come round in fags, booze, and everything else. And then so I had the idea of the business, and then I was like, that's a brilliant idea. Oh, but we're going to the pub. So I never did it. Then I had another idea. I came to live in Ellesmere Port, and worked my first ever IT sales job. It wasn't called IT in those days, it was called computers. And I found I was good at selling PC software. It was PCs in those days, they weren't even linked together. And anyway, one of my pals I worked with there, he and I hit on the idea of water filters. In those days, Steve, what's his name, and Red Row were based around here. And we had an idea for, found these water filters. Actually, why don't we speak to Red Row about they installed water filters in the kitchen, and it gives you, because at that time water was a real problem. Late 80s, late 80s. We had a meeting with Red Row and sort of half convinced them over the phone to do this. And then again, I just didn't do it, right? So I've always, to answer your question, in a very roundabout way, I've always kind of known that I want to be, I think I'm naturally quite entrepreneurial. I just think I am. And I think I've tried to resist it for so long now, but I am. I love the creative act of exploring possibilities generally in life, but actually on the business side of things, it really excites me as well. And I just enjoy it. I just love playing with ideas. So, so I think I've always known, but then I think what happened is for probably the last 30 years, or certainly the last 25 years, I pushed that down. I went perhaps looking down the wrong track. I thought that actually it was travel that was going to make me happy, and it was, other things as well. I got very bored in IT sales, and instead of thinking actually what I should be doing is working for myself, which with hindsight now was definitely the answer.
Yeah.
I tried to find it in other ways. I did a brilliant life coaching course in 2003, which was one of my pivotal moments.
Right.
But out of that, I realised I had to come clean on a lot of crap I'd got myself into.
Yeah.
And also, I was bored, and I just thought, I'm just going to want to go and do a bit of travel for a while. I want to go and do something else, which is why I retrained as an English teacher.
Right.
And then it's taken a process, really. And ironically, it's taken moving back up here, which was a big fear of mine. Dad and I have always had a close but quite a challenging relationship, I think it's fair to say, in a lot of areas. But actually coming back up here and being closer to him and really building an amazing relationship with him over the last 6 years has actually, weirdly, unlocked the door to me really knowing what I want. And really, particularly in the last year living together, was the biggest fear ever. I mean, I was having panic attacks about it. Actually, that's not true. Had I had time to think about it, I would have had a panic attack. But because he was ill, it was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
It was like, of course you're going to come and live with me. Of course I'm going to look after you.
Yeah,
yeah. You're my dad. I love you, and I hate seeing people I love going through anything. And I think I'm a nurturer as well. I'm a caring kind of person, I think, naturally. So it was like, yeah, of course I'm going to do that. When Dad came to live with me, I was employed, and I was employed with guys that I'd known. They're good friends of mine, and we've worked together on and off for 30 odd years. We all started in the same IT company together when I moved down south. They're brilliant guys, Tim and Dan. I love them. But I was running the sales team of me, new business development. Dad got ill, and anyone who's been through a situation with an elderly parent where they've perhaps got multiple things. It was a trial and error to see what was wrong with him, and it took 4 months for him to be diagnosed with bowel cancer because of where it was located. It was the final place they looked, and so we were in hospital nearly every day. I don't mean as in he wasn't staying in. It was like visits to hospital nearly every day, which meant a lot of my time, and then he had to have 5 weeks of brutal chemotherapy, radiotherapy, plus all the side effects and everything else. So it was very difficult to hold down a full-time job, and for me to expect that my employer would put up with that for, more than 6 months was. So I made the decision, weirdly, when I was with Dad, because I live in a 2-bed flat. My office is in the lounge, and my dad at that time was just in the lounge, and he was listening to me in meetings, and I was just being me, in meetings, what have you. It's all new business sales, and he would say things like, "Wow, John, God, you really do know what you're doing, don't you? Oh, you sounded fantastic." And I was thinking he was going to say the absolute bloody opposite, right? Like, you should have done that. He wasn't at all. He was like glowing with pride, right? And he was, and I was like, yeah, I am pretty good actually.
Watch this next one, Dad.
Yeah, for my next act. I don't know, it just unlocked something in me,
And did that change your relationship? Those little moments?
Yeah. Oh, our relationship, I would say, has been enhanced by the last year.
Yeah.
We confronted a lot of ghosts and demons as well, and we've had a couple of bits where the old roles were coming out to play, and there were 2 incidents where I was able to go, you know what, no, okay. I was thinking in work, in professionally, I love the term be professionally intolerant. Yeah, so professional intolerance is a thing. I'm in IT sales, so we sell business-to-business networking. There's always multiple vendors, multiple project people, all that sort of stuff. And you don't have time to mess around. If you feel something's going down the wrong track, you have to kind of go, you know what? No, I'm going to disagree with what you say there. That is not cool, and I suggest you kind of go and revisit what you just said. And I'm not accepting it. So let's meet again tomorrow. and when you use that kind of language, it's good. And people kind of, people go, oh, what you don't realise, I forgot to tell you, was X, Y, and Z. Right, that changes things. In which case, let's refocus and let's do. But I've always been good at doing that professionally. I've always been terrible at doing that personally. I've always personally just soaked it up, and then exploded, right? What I've learned in the last kind of 10, 15 years is through teaching English overseas and having to be patient with people who speak a second language and just having to kind of reinvent myself and have confidence in different areas is I've learned how to do that professionally, and I've also learned how to do that personally as well, particularly after doing the Landmark Forum in 2003, the life coaching stuff. So to go back to your original point, I've always known that that's what I want to do and what I should be doing, but I didn't have the final confidence until the last year, weirdly. Yeah. So June 25 was when I decided to go on my own, or to go exclusively on my own. And then very, very quickly on the back of that I'd had the idea for Mavs a year before. The Mavs name came about actually at a music festival with some friends, and it came out of a joke. Actually, there's nothing to do with boxing. It was to do with how rubbish we are as guys in our 50s going to camping in a music festival. And my friend accidentally knocked somebody's chair over, and we were like apologising profusely, whatever. And I said, "Oh God, look at us, middle-aged vandals," And I just loved it. And then we made a joke about booting everyone, saying, "Oh, I'm really sorry, sorry about that," being like middle-aged about it.
Fight, yeah.
And so then when I had the idea I was talking to Paul about middle-aged vandals, then the idea of the community-based boxing, using boxing as a way for guys to come out of themselves. You get to your 40s, you're still pretty hale and hearty, and if you've kept your fitness up, you can still hack it. The recovery starts taking longer. You stop wanting to do it as much, but you can still do it. I think when you get to 50, something really does happen, and particularly with your mid-50s as well. And for me, what it was just that sort of motivation, but most importantly, the confidence. My confidence just suddenly dropped. I always felt quite confident in my ability to hold my own against younger guys. I don't mean fighting or anything. I mean fitness-wise. So in my own mind as a man, I was like, yeah. But then when I got to my 50s, and particularly after the illnesses and everything, I just noticed my confidence started taking a hit, and I started feeling like not quite myself, and like, oh, this is not good. I don't like this feeling at all. And I just sort of noticed, I started looking around me, and I live in Frodsham, which is kind of a well-to-do small town, large village, really. It's a fabulous place, but it's very pub-based. There's a lot of people, and
it's a nice pie shop there.
Cowards,
Cowards.
Yeah, Sue Coward makes the best pies in the world. Yeah. So I just thought there must be other people like me who want to find something on the other side of what we've always done.
Yeah.
Pub, bring kids up, look after elderly parents, run a business, don't run a business, have money worries, have illnesses, deaths in the family, challenges, whatever your flavour of challenges. By the time you get to your 40s, 50s and 60s, you're going to have had something in your life that challenges you, perhaps takes away some motivation. And guys particularly are very good at going, I've done my bit now, I've earned the money, I've brought my kids up, there's this almost kind of like tick, I can do, I can die happily, or I can, it doesn't really matter now. You just sort of, and then what you don't realise is that, you get to that age, you might be alive for another 30 years, and do you want to have those 30 years feeling good about yourself, and feeling like you've got a level of fitness that you can help yourself through. And I don't mean physical either. I just mean physical. I mean mental as well. Or do you want to go through those years more balanced?
Yeah.
You know, you can have a pint, but you know,
Yeah.
I want to do that as well. So my thinking was that it came out of a bit of a selfish reason originally, which was I want to build a community of guys that I want to hang out with, punch pads, have a bit of fun, learn a bit of boxing from a world-class trainer, by the way, and literally ex-world champion.
Yeah. Oh, he's got an incredible reputation, Paul, in the Chester area as a trainer and as a boxer.
Yeah, and most importantly for me as a man, right? He's just a brilliant guy. He had his share of troubles as a youngster.
Yeah.
And he's come through it, right? And I mean, with clogs on as well. You only have to spend 5-10 minutes with Paul, and you just know what a decent guy is.
Yeah.
He's tough as fuck.
Yeah.
But you know what we say is, you know, everyone learns the same thing. You do it at your own pace with a little bit more. Just push yourself a little bit more. But there's none of this puking up afterwards, and you know you've got to keep up with everybody. You know, I tried CrossFit. That was a nightmare.
Oh, I've tried
so I nearly killed myself.
Yeah.
And I thought, if I can build a community like CrossFit, but tailored for guys who perhaps, you know, we talk about having your comeback story. That's big, central to what we do. And by that, I mean, you know, like I said before, when you get to 40s, 50s and 60s, things start getting tougher. You know, the cortisol's harder to kind of replace and distribute. You know, your dopamine receptors are overawed, but nowadays as well. You've got responsibilities and everything else. Come and punch some pads for an hour.
Yeah.
You know, there's a bit of music playing in the background, and just feel better about yourself. Yeah.
On that, it's interesting because, you know, Mavs work with predominantly 40s, 50s, 60s, and you mentioned right at the start of the conversation around your upbringing, not just dad, but, you know, and I relate to that stiff upper lip, get on with it, crack on, find a way through. And you also said, for men, and you see it and I see it, you know, we'll hit those stumbling blocks. You can hit them many times in life, but 40s, 50s, those responsibilities, that level of accountability is through the roof. Is there any connection between how men at our generation deal with those challenges and the stereotypes that we had as kids growing up? Why do you think it maybe took you knew in your late teens, early 20s, I know what I want to be or what I want to become, that entrepreneurship was appealing to you. It was only really late 40s, early 50s where you started to activate that. Any links between those stereotypes that we had as kids growing up and how we deal with those challenges?
Oh, absolutely a stereotype. Certainly for me, it's my dad's voice. Like a lot of guys, we have our father's voice. If it's not there as not literally hearing his voice, but, you know, for me, that stereotypical. I got put into boarding school when I was 11 for 2 years. Right. I was the wrong kind of kid to go to boarding school, I think it's fair to say. Now, as I've got older, I've realised some good things came out of it. But I went there and was really confused really quickly in terms of like, oh, you know, this is weird. I mean, I lived on the Isle of Man as well. So I was on, you know, 11 miles by 30 and a boarding school on the Isle of Man. So it was lots of scary big boys and lots of scary teachers in big black gowns. And I'd come from a, you know, loving home, 2 sisters before my brother was born. Spent a lot of time with mum and my sisters. You know, we'd moved from Chester over there, made lots of good friends, lived out in the countryside. It was idyllic. It was the Enid Blyton. I went from there to this kind of like, you know, very regimented, rules-based, old school, you know, boarding school. So when you're there, and I just lived my whole time there, really in fight or flight, you know, with hindsight. I learned to sing there. I could sing there, and thankfully for me, had a really good singing career in a way there. Became head chorister, came to the mainland doing tours and singing and all that sort of stuff. And then went from there to a broken home. My parents got divorced, had to go and live with my grandparents, and then lived on my own from the age of 16. So it was constantly just like, whoa!
Yeah.
And I suppose the loop that was always the thing that was constant for me then was that you need to be this, you need to do that, stiff upper lip, you're too sensitive, you're, all that sort of stuff. And that, for me, it plays like it's on a video cassette, one for the kids, that was just constantly there playing.
Yeah.
And it was my fallback as well. And yeah, that sort of drove me. I do think, in some respects, I've been quite lucky that I've always had an inner something. And I don't know whether this comes back to singing in the choir and being in church a lot, what have you. I've always had access to something else that I know is now my own inner voice, which is the stoic, don't worry, just get through this and we'll come back to it and what have you. But certainly that other cassette that's there playing all the time, totally, to answer your question, has dictated and coloured my life. What happened then when I moved down south, I escaped from all that. I escaped from all up here and I started finding beer and parties. It was the 90s in Brighton. It was quite the place. And I was also working with all my friends and we were making some money at the same time. So it was like, oh, this is real life. It really wasn't. It was great fun. But I was kind of medicating myself. It was just, constant. And then when eventually I had to then face that, when I did the life coaching in 2003, I realized I was just hidden and hiding and small and wasn't embracing life at all in all its ugly joy and pain, which is why I went and traveled and just thought, I'm going to go away and just try something completely new. It was hard, really hard, but I'm so glad I did that. And then came back armed with that experience and the experience I got from the life coaching, which was then the new me, really, which was, no, that's how you used to think. You don't think like that anymore, dude. No, who are you being in this situation? Or am I being the messy drama queen, alcoholic, or am I being stoic, the real me who's might not have it at the moment but knows he's going to get there just with hard work. So that's, sorry, long-winded again.
No, but you've mentioned the life coaching in 2003, and I love that analogy of the cassettes. It's very similar to that, to the metaphor of the two wolves. It's going around a lot on social media at the moment. There's two wolves. Do you feed the positive, the growth mindset wolf, the opportunity, or do you feel the fixed mindset wolf, the negative, the traumatic one, the limiting beliefs wolf?
Yeah.
And it sounds like, I love the metaphor of a cassette, good old cassettes.
Yeah.
What was it on that 2003 life coaching program that triggered you to feed more of the positive cassette? What was the moment? I would imagine there was a light bulb moment.
I have to even think back to that now but I think up to that point I was blaming a lot of my stuff on my parents and on my story, my backstory, and it was like, it just, it was on that course. It was brutal, that course, by the way. It's Landmark Forum. It splits people's opinion, but for me it worked. And they eventually get you repeating your story, okay, and you're crying your eyes out, and then they give you a tissue, right? Tell me again, in front of everybody. You're telling the story, and by about the sixth time, you kind of go, hang on. So, and don't get me wrong, I can still feel it there now. It never goes completely, but I know that it is just a story. It happened, and the way to get beyond that for me, and I'm not saying this is right for everybody, it was forgiveness. I realised that my parents are just human beings like me, and that decisions that were made at that time, they made based on the best knowledge that they had and the best way that they were going to be. Now, it might not be what I would have done, and it might not have worked very well for me. But I had to realise that it's just fucking humans, right? And I just had to forgive that. And I had to forgive myself as well. I'd made some terrible mistakes, and I've had to forgive myself for that. And I continually have to do that. The thing that I find the hardest still it's forgiving myself. And yeah, so the life coaching was forgiveness, and the big one was embracing your power.
Yeah.
It's very easy, Kurt Cobain saying, "I miss the comfort in being sad." Right? Once he made it big, he found it hard not to continually go back into that state. It was easier. Sometimes it's easy and safe to be small and to live in your backstory and you to live in that thing. And when you realize how powerful we really always all are, if you have true access to your true power in yourself, that can be fucking terrifying. And it was for me. And it still is sometimes, and true power doesn't come in, and this is why I think about young guys. True power doesn't come out of being just like your mates, following the same people. I mean, that's a bit of fun sometimes and everything else.
Yeah.
True power comes in finding and being brave enough to have that conversation with yourself about who am I really, And by the way, it doesn't come overnight. In my case, it took years.
Yeah.
Who am I really? What do I really, really want? What do I really, really want? Do I not know? Because that's okay as well. If I don't know, but it's great to just go, I don't know. I'm going to write down, I don't know, but I'm going to find it. Okay. And yeah, for me, it's been embracing my own power. That's been, I was always taught to kind of be seen and not heard, or don't put your head too far above the parapet, don't be too powerful. So yeah, I think those are the two things. One was forgiveness.
Yeah.
The other one was, embracing my own power, as it were. And I unlocked that for myself, by the way. They didn't tell you that. You unlock your own power. No. You with life coaching, as you probably know, they give you the platform to find out yourself, right? And I still, before I said that, then I was like that. But as I said it, I felt like, it's coming out. This is the truth.
And you're linking right back to that emotional connection, that realization. There's an observation, and I might be way off here, but there's a real observation in what you've said, and there's a real turning point. And I might be way off, and if I am, tell me I'm way off. But when you talked about your past and your family and that kind of stiff upper lip, and all the challenges that you went through, from being homeless to the bed that comes down like that to being in a boarding school, it sounds like to me there was a high tell culture, as in you do that, you do this, you get this. And I'm not saying I went to a normal kind of state school, I don't know what that. But there seems like there was a high tell culture. This is what you should do. This is how you should behave. But there seemed to be a real turning point in 2003 when you were given a coaching approach, which was, I'm going to pull it out of you. I'm going to let you sit in your voice, repeat that story 6 times, and enjoy the fact that you've got a voice and you've got an opinion. From there was also other pivotal moments of you knew you weren't right, and then you got into coaching with Paul. Paul will have unlocked something in you as a boxing specialist that... The boxing is a vehicle for you to bring something out. You are now an entrepreneur, a business owner, an owner of a community interest company where you are using boxing as a vehicle for.
Well, I don't own the community interest company, by the way.
Well,
But
you are an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Using boxing as a vehicle to help men in their 40s, 50s, 60s navigate those challenges in life. Yeah. What's your observation of that reflection? How does that land with you?
It's I find it quite hard to say wow, I'm brilliant. And where it lands with me is I think it's a work in progress. It's a very exciting work in progress, but we're just getting started. I love the fact I'm an entrepreneur. I love the fact I've got a couple of businesses, and I love the fact that I am the source of Mavs, and that's what I see myself as, the source. I think what I really want for Mavs is for Mavs to get a life of its own, to become part of the public conversation, the public domain. I want it to be available to every man in their 40s, 50s and 60s at no charge, which is why we've done the CIC, so we can start working with NHS, Sport England, men's, the government's fantastic new 10-year plan. That's not a political endorsement, by the way. It's just a great plan. So I love the idea of the fact that I am the source of that. I love the idea that that can grow legs and take off. And I love the fact that that's going to hopefully help a lot of guys. I just want to be useful around that stuff. I really do. I'd love to give it away at some point. Or, I'm in tech. There's some crazy stuff you can do now around digital assets and ownership and all that sort of stuff. I've always loved the idea of the co-op. I've always loved it. Anyway, this is me. Before I came on this, I said, just because I'm a bit of a macro kind of guy, I like to look at the big picture, but I have to control it and go, right, no. For now, it's, I think, a great idea. The guys who come love it. I'm speaking to some public health professionals at the work as well at the moment. I am definitely in learning mode.
Yeah.
I understand IT sales quite well. It's always changing, but this arena is lovely. Our first event, our only event so far, was at the Box Park, Liverpool, in November on International Men's Day on November 19th. Everybody, and our first member we met there, who's an ex major. Nursing corps, PT, and he's brilliant guy, and we're really proud that our first member came from that. He had agoraphobia, didn't like meeting new people in big groups, and he forced himself to come. I get emotional.
And he's there every week.
He's there every week. Well, no, he's not, and that's okay because he's missed a couple. But our whole thing is like, you come when you want to come, And what we found is that he immediately started talking after the class. And after the very first class, we all stood by the cars, just chatting. And I was like, oh, we got something here. Do you know what I mean? If we can give guys access to that, and I'm feeling imposter syndrome right now. I'm going to be absolutely honest with you because I'm not a mental health professional at all, and I don't claim to be. But if all I do is have been the idea, and that this thing grows legs, and that these guys can turn up, then fantastic.
But it also sounds like that man in particular, from when you met him to where he is now, sounds like you've given him an invitation, opportunity to find his power. Again,
I hope so. I wouldn't be so arrogant to think that I have any control over that. What I like to think I have had control over is the idea, and the creating of the co-creating of Mavs, because we've got Paul, who's my business partner in the limited company business, and then and Mike, who's our brilliant creative marketing guy, and they're all invested in the idea, by the way. So everybody's passionate about what we're doing. But for me, it's more being the source of that that excites me. It's interesting. I'm going to share when we first spoke, you talked about legacy and that sort of thing. It really challenged me when you said that. I thought, why am I so challenged with that idea of legacy? And I think because I thought about it afterwards. I thought I associate legacy with being nearly finished,
right?
And ego. That, by the way, that's just my own association. And I don't think I'm there yet. I think where I'm at is I feel like I'm just getting started as an entrepreneur and creating things and everything else. So for me, I think the question came as when you're in your 80s or whatever, or 75 or 80, when people in your family are talking about you,
Yeah. I think I say every time I do on the call.
I think I want people to go, fucking give it a go. Wow, he was good at starting things, creating things, and he was a good guy as well, and he was good fun. Yeah, because I want this to be fun as well.
Yeah.
So
and you mentioned a lot of fun in your early teens or when you were really those party days.
Yeah.
Fun's right through,
Oh,
isn't
the
it?
parties were always at my house, and it was, I had a massive group of friends, and a lot of them who are still really good friends, and they've gone their own way and done their own things brilliantly as well. And what I loved about that was just the community, and everyone having great big grins on their face and enjoying themselves and feeding them and everything else.
Yeah.
But what I've realised is that there's only, there's a best before date on that lifestyle, and I definitely ate over it.
And tell me about what does the future hold for you? You've now clearly got your power. You've clearly that resilience that you've built up through everything you've mentioned, that quiet, stoic voice, which to me sounds like your resilience kind of kit bag that's in there. What does the future look like in terms of now you harnessing and developing your power?
Well, I mean, I hope, kind of God willing, health-wise, I can stay the course. But yeah, I think for me, it's what does the future look like? Busy, I think. I don't think I'll ever retire. I'm reading a brilliant book, by the way, called Ikigai. It's about how the people of Okinawa, particularly there's a small village in Okinawa, they all live into their hundreds, 105s, 110s. But it's not just that, the quality of life they have, and it's their kind of secret. And one of the things they do is they never stop working. So they're retired, but they're not. They're working for the community. They do host community meals every week. They'll go and they'll go and dig each other's gardens. They'll do some community work and all that sort of stuff. And for me, I'll never stop working. So the future for me is to be kind of really useful. I want to spend the next 3 years growing out my consultancy business as well, and seeing where that goes. And I've made some bad errors in the past financially, I think it's fair to say. So I need to get my pension pot up and get myself sorted.
Yeah.
But I think, in terms of MAVs, is just, I've got several meetings lined up now. I'm connecting with people. Everyone seems to like the idea. I want to just keep learning from people. I want to keep asking the questions of finding out where we can go with the public health, community health side of things. I want to train more instructors. Well, Paul will train them. I want to have a MAVS class in every town. I mean, honestly, I was in London 3 weeks ago on a works thing, and the night before I was really kind of stressed. I was, the old me would have been down the pub, and I was like, God, I wish there was a MAVS class around the corner.
Yeah.
And I remember in my head, I was like, like when you need AA, you'd always know you're within 5 miles and an hour or two of an AA club, of an AA session. I thought, wouldn't it be great if we could just, have a look, where's the local one, jump in. And then I thought, how could you do that? And I thought, we could speak to Pure Gym, the gym group.
Yeah.
People who've got 24/7 things, and see is there space available. And anyway, so to answer your question in a very long-winded fashion, like I always do, is I think for me, the future is, MAVS. I want it to be part of the national vernacular.
Yeah.
I want guys in their 40s, 50s, and 60s to know that they can and want to come along, have the crack, punch some pads, learn some boxing drills, learn footwork, do some circuits. It doesn't matter what state of fitness you're in. It doesn't matter if you've never even opened a gym door before. It doesn't matter if you've done nothing since school or if you've done nothing before then.
Yeah.
You can come along. We want it to be a safe space for guys to come to where they can just escape for an hour, knowing that they can just do this for themselves. And we call it your comeback story for a reason.
Yeah.
So you can invest in yourself so that, that hour is sacrosanct for you.
Yeah.
So, that's what I want. I want the future to be very much that. And then personally, I want my health. I want to improve my health.
Yeah.
And I want to improve my financial situation. That's completely separate. But and then just be happy. And this whole area has been brilliant to me, and I feel like I want to give back. And to continue to grow myself, to continue to challenge myself, come out of myself.
Keep feeding that power.
I'm meeting great people like you. I want to commute. I want to meet people who are kind of, interested in talking about this stuff.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of it, isn't it? And I think there's real synergy in what we do. And I'm definitely coming to a class. I know you do Sunday mornings, and I'm a under 5s and under 6 rugby coach, but we'll figure that out. But I'm really looking forward to coming over because it's really interesting what you're doing, and I think it's interesting around. You said before about, I may be going to counselling, I've been into counselling, but it's a bloody big leap. It's a bloody big leap, and it's not for everyone. But something like sport, whether it's touch rugby, boxing, walking, they're fantastic platforms to ease into that or just get another version of that, talking to each other. And I think there's a real angle of that coaching, and I think there's a reason why coaching is so successful in many different areas, whether it's life coaching, business coaching, well-being coaching, because for the first time we might be asked to just pull the stuff from within out, externalise it, bring those brain noodles out and figure out how do we move forward from it.
And acceptance that you don't know everything yourself either. And there's nothing wrong with that, by the way.
We'll never know
There's nothing wrong with not knowing yourself.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need a bit of a hand with it. Yeah.
But I think there's something beautiful around that journey of figuring out who you are. What does that new version of you look like?
So exciting.
And that's what, we know from the sad side of suicide rates that we've got now, that people are struggling to see that. And it's around, I agree, you don't have to have the answers. You don't have to open up, because it's a skill thing as well. We weren't necessarily demonstrated that skill of being vulnerable, of being open, but there is a lot within all of us that can unlock brilliant doors for us and other people around us, and we don't need to find it straight away. Yeah. But what we do need to do is put ourselves in those situations where we can start to learn and develop it and take risks, stretch ourselves, get in that stretch zone. Yeah. And it sounds like going to one of these classes would be a bloody stretch zone. I think I'll get a right sweat
well,
on.
It is, but it's a fun stretch. Like I say, you're not on kind of all fours honking, in the gutter. But you definitely will know. Paul's brilliant at gauging, by the way, as well. So he's the classes are great. They definitely stretch you. You'll definitely be sweating. And that's
Bring it on.
Yeah.
It's been a great conversation.
Thank you.
JB. Every guest we ask towards the back end for your little blackbird worm of wisdom.
Okay.
What is it?
Well, you just touched on it before, and I think Nike said it better than anybody else, which was just do it. We see that slogan, we think, oh yeah, Nike, just do it. And then if you really sit back and think about that for a second, it's so powerful, right? Just do it with a caveat as well, though, for me, which is... and I'm a big fan of a guy called James Clear, who wrote a brilliant book called Atomic Habits. Yeah. And I think a lot of people know about him. And he's so eloquent as well. He was on a podcast called the High Performance Podcast with Jake Humphries. And if you go to YouTube, it's free. There's an hour-long talk he did with Jake Humphries. James Clear. And for me, I think, as much as anybody in a way, in the last year, been a very important part of my journey. That 1 hour just came at just the right time, and I happened to be in the gym. I don't listen to music in the gym anymore. I listen to podcasts, including yours from now on, because I find that a really big motivator. And I don't like being in gyms. I think they're boring, but I love them when they've got podcasts as well. Yeah. One of the things I learned when I was in the Landmark and Life coaching course was he said, try things on. Like you go and try a pair of shoes on, see if you like them in a shop or whatever. When you're trying to find your thing, we talked a lot about trying to find the real you, right? And you're trying to find what it is that talks to you and speaks to you at that time in your life, right? And the way that I've always done that since is that I try ideas on for size in my head, in my mind, and I just try it on like I'm a pair of shoes. And you might kind of go, okay, I'm just going to sit with that for a day or two. I'm going to let it percolate, like simmer in like a little, a bit of braising steak on a low heat. And I let that simmer for a couple of days. I start, I'll think about it in bed when I wake up or whatever, or maybe jot a couple of ideas down. And then quite quickly you kind of go, no. I was quite excited about it as an idea to begin with, but then now I'm not. But actually, if you go through that kind of process, and you're doing it for you, you're not doing it for your social media mates, you've unplugged Unplug for an hour. If you're a young guy, unplug, go for a walk, go to the gym.
Yeah.
And try these ideas on. And then if you actually come to an idea that you want to do, try it, and 9 times out of 10, it doesn't mean you have to stop what you're doing in your normal life. You can just try that as well and have it as like a little pilot project running alongside. If you're in a job already, try that as well. And I think Jake's just done that brilliantly, where you don't have to throw the baby away with the bathwater, so to speak. You can do what you do, and you can try something else in parallel, and then whichever one things you can pivot more into.
Yeah, I like that. And see how it fits, see whether it is a fit, because
exactly
things aren't a fit, you don't know unless you give it a go, do you?
It's really important, and I think, and then when you do know what it is, and you do know, and by the way, you do know when that moment happens, right? You know, don't you? I think we all instinctively know, whatever age you are, like, that's that. I'm going to do that. I know that. I'm really excited about that. I can do it. Then you follow Nike's advice. Just do it, and then you commit. You go for it. And I think for me, that's been the thing. So that's the nugget of little blackbird wisdom is kind of don't be scared to give things a go. Yeah, work with yourself, find out what it is, and then go for it. Yeah, and the final bit, which it's a very long nugget of wisdom, but they're all interlinked, is when you're doing that, when you know it's right for you, you're going to have people saying, "What are you doing?" And don't forget your parents as well, and your family. They're conditioned to make sure you stay alive, and they want you to be safe, and safe might not always be what you want. Yeah. So if you find what you want to do, just do it. Think about Nike. Just do it. If you know that this is what you want to do, don't listen to the little voices around you, okay? And I think that's probably what I would say. And you're not going to have a transformed life without pissing people off, some people off, right? So it doesn't mean go out and do heinous acts and use it as an excuse to go and do toxic behaviour and that sort of thing. But if you found what it is that you want to do, as a job or as a career or as a hobby or anything else, and it's what you want to do, then just do it. Yeah.
I love that, Jonathan. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Good, I've loved it.
What started off as a half an hour Teams call, we've got into a full-on podcast conversation. So thanks very much. And listen, good luck. And I look forward to coming down to the session.
And good luck to you too.
And get a right sweat on.
And by the way, I spoke to Paul about that. We can probably do a Wednesday. So get you and your mates. And
we'll get all the rugby coaches over. And we'll give.
And if anyone wants to come on a Sunday morning from 9:30 till 10:30, we're around from 9. It's at the Catholic High School, Chester, in the old gym. People are welcome, so yeah.
Brilliant. Do they have to sign up online, or can they just rock up?
You can sign up online if you want. There's a waiver form on there which we like everyone to just fill in before they come, if that's okay. Or just rock up on the day and you can fill it out when you come. Yeah.
Perfect.
The first session's always free, so come along. Yeah.
Job's a good one. Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
It's a wrap. Well done, boy.
Thanks for listening, or thanks for watching the podcast. Please take a couple of seconds to engage with us. Please subscribe, like, or give us a comment on how you're finding the podcast so far. And keep listening. Take care. All the best. Keep smiling.